Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and in today's video we will be discussing the right and the left hands of the Soul King, and the parts of the Soul King in general. I feel like I'm a freaking cult member. Well, who's to say I'm not, right? Either that or Alucard. Yeah, so I think I'd go with Alucard over the cult member. Some Jonestown shit going on here. All right, but before we get into it, let me just say that the last chapter review of Bleach, for those of you that don't know, I've said it multiple times, but just in case you don't know, it's not going to be out in the days immediately after the chapter. Okay, it's probably going to be about a week, maybe 2 weeks at the maximum. I got to juggle a bunch of shit going on. I have classes starting next week. I'm working on it piece by piece, and I'm gonna still upload videos, while I'm working on it, like this one right here. I should also bring up the fact that a lot of people are wondering, what are you gonna do now that Bleach is over, right? And you can't talk about it anymore. Are you gonna talk about something else? The weekly reviews are gonna be replaced with something else, and I've gotten tired of saying it so many times, so if you guys know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, well, it's going to be a mystery. But as for that, no, we're still going to talk about Bleach. Did you not see the ending? Did you not read that shit? I could take a freaking phone book and I could fill it with the plot holes that are left at the end of the series. We're not here to blame Kubo. We're not even here to, cause blame at all. We're not here to be like, fuck Shonen Jump, or fuck Kubo, or fuck this guy, or fuck Mike down the street. It was because of him that Bleach ended this way. We're not here to spread blame. I'm just saying, there's a lot of shit that ended, that the series ended and was never explained. So, well, there's still stuff to discuss, right? I'm not going to make a discussion video about everything, about like every single Bankai or every single Shikai that we never saw, but there's still some glaring things that happened in the Final Year Blood War arc that need to be discussed. And I guess at this point, maybe Kubo came to the conclusion of, you know what, just fill in the gaps yourself. Like, alright, Kubo, fine, we'll fill in the gaps ourselves. It's okay. One of the biggest one is that of the Soul King. You get it? Because it's Brook from One Piece. Because he's the Soul King. Yeah. But no. Okay, so, Soul King. He was mentioned before in the Bleach series, as far back as the Arrancar arc. He was first mentioned by Yamamoto, explaining, that the Soul Society has sort of a hierarchy, and the king is at the top. He's referred to as the Reo, and we thought that, Aizen's whole plan was to gain access to the, Soul Palace to kill the Soul King and take his power for himself. Aizen kind of went on that rant with Uehara right before he was about to be sealed, like, I can't believe you guys are subjecting yourself to that thing. And then Uehara is like, well, it's the linchpin, it's the keystone, that's the way the world is. Without the Soul King, everything would crumble apart into nothing. And that's just the way the world is, you big baby. And then Aizen gets sealed. He finally shows up in chapter 519 during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. It was revealed that the Soul King is not really so much of a king, as in he just sits on a throne and gives orders. He's more of like an object that just kind of remains stationary, limbless. He has no arms, he has no legs, he just has a torso and a body, a torso and a head to make up his body. His eyes are sort of patterned in a similar way that Aizen's were. He has like a top knot thing going on. He has a mouth, but he never speaks. And it's been shown later on that you don't even know how he conveys his emotions or feelings. Korinji said that the Soul King is like really happy that Ichigo was there, or that the Soul King is somewhat infatuated with Ichigo, but we have no way of knowing how the Soul King conveyed that message. Does he do it just through Ryatsu? Can he just send his thoughts directly into his followers, which are the Zero Squad, his protectors? We don't know. But eventually it was revealed that, yeah, the Soul King is pretty much just an object, because when Yuha invaded the throne room of the Soul King and he killed him, he stated, you are my father who saw the future. So right away implies that there's a major connection there between the Soul King and Yuha, father and son. Now, I'm not saying that, the Soul King goes out like Zeus. The Zeus goes out and is just a fucking whore master and just fucks 18,000 bitches a night as a bull and then has a bunch of sons running around, okay? He's probably not that type of god. But then it's revealed, okay, he has two arms. He has a right arm and a left arm. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it's like the body itself has to stay in one place to just maintain the flow of the universe, because as soon as the Soul King died, the whole, like, Hueco Mundo, World of Living, Soul Society, all that shit began to crumble apart. And so that's like what the main body's for. But then you have the remaining arms that are supposed to like carry out the duties of the Soul King. There, and that would make sense, you know, the whole thing, like Hand of the King, you know, like the hand that will actually do the actions that the king cannot do. But then it gets confusing. It gets really fucking confusing really fucking quickly, because it's revealed that, okay, the right arm of the Soul King, that is like a deity that's being worshipped in the Soul Society. And Uketake's parents call upon it to inhabit Uketake's body to, you know, make sure he doesn't die, to contain the illness within him. I'm like, all right, it's a guardian deity. The Soul King is the god of the Seirete base of the Soul Society, basically, and the right arm is like also a deity in its own right, called the Mimi Hage. Okay, that's cool. And then you get Pernida back here, the left arm of the Soul King. Hey guys, who revealed to be working with Yuha Bach as a Sternritter. Sternritter C, the compulsory, has the big Sternritter logo, the six-pointed cross on it, and even refers to itself as a Quincy. And we never find out what the fuck is up with that. So that's where the mystery lies. Why did the body parts of the Soul King defect from the Soul King? Made it even more confusing, because later on, Askin states that Gerald Valkyrie, Sternritter M, is the heart of the Soul King. Okay. Like, alright, so I have a few theories about this. The first one is this. Pernida is the left arm, which governs progress, and the right arm is Mimi Hage, which governs stillness. Right? Okay, so it would make sense that the arm that governs stillness would remain with the Soul King, would remain with the Soul Society. It's like they got brought into this world together, they will maintain this together. Although it does get a little bit more confusing when, after Uketake uses Mimi Hage to kind of sustain the Soul King, Yuha is talking to the Soul King, like, what are you doing here? Is your will the will of the Soul King itself? Who are you? Why are you getting involved? Like, Yuha is fucking surprised, just absolutely flabbergasted, that the right arm of the Soul King would try to protect the Soul King. Seems kind of obvious to me, but to Yuha, who clearly knows more about this than we do, is absolutely surprised by this. He has no idea what to make of it. So, yeah, there's an interesting past here that we need to know. But beyond that, we have Pernida, who governs progress, or evolution. So, I'm starting to think, well, maybe, at some point, through Pernida, the Quincy's came into existence. Or, you know, back when maybe Pernida and the Soul King were the one entity. You know, because I like to imagine at some point in history, maybe at the beginning of the time of the Seirete, that, or the Soul Society in general, at the beginning of time with all this, the Soul King did exist as one complete entity, and then something happened, and then he got broken up into different parts. But maybe it was the concept of the Quincy's being created at once, you know? Maybe it was like, alright, this is evolution. Maybe this is the next evolutionary step for humans to become Quincy's, or the next evolutionary step for Shinigami to become more like Quincy's. I don't know. But then through some evolutionary process, Yuha came into existence. He's clearly a being unlike any other being, because keep in mind, he's the father of all Quincy's. He started this, like 1,000 years ago. Before that, no Quincy existed before him. He was the first. So you have just a land full of normal humans, and then all of a sudden Yuha comes into existence. Maybe like as the next step in human evolution or something. Maybe that's the point that Pernida, you know, decided to break off from the Soul King and ally itself with Yuha. I would imagine that Pernida has probably been in league with Yuha for a very long fucking time. Maybe even longer than any other Sternritter. The origins are shrouded in mystery. We really don't know. But I'm going to assume that it's been with Yuha since the very beginning. Also, a little side note here. Kubo revealed in one of the later volumes, one of the later Tonkabons, that the Schutzstaffen, the 4 members of the Schutzstaffen, Sternritter C, D, M, and X, all represent different types of warfare from different eras of history. with Pernida representing ancient kind of warfare, Gerard representing like middle-aged kind of warfare, Lilia representing modern warfare with weaponry like such as guns and stuff, and then Askin represents like present-day kind of warfare with like viruses and infections and diseases and stuff. You know, Gerard's kind of a you know, a gladiator or type of you know, middle-aged sword claymore knightly kind of dude, and then Pernida's like shrouded in all these kind of mysteries like the ancients would fight with like magic and witchcraft and shit, I guess. That doesn't really have anything to do, I guess, with what it really represents, but just Kubo's like symbolism shining through. I thought it was interesting to bring that up. But yeah, so made even more confusing is the fact that Pernida was able just to be defeated by Mayuri. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Mayuri. He's my favorite captain. He's a clever dude. But don't you find it odd that just a scrap of the god, basically, would be able just to be defeated like that? I mean, it wasn't just like that. It was a kick-ass fight. But Pernida died by absorbing Nemu, and then the cells invaded Pernida, and then they replicated, and he just blew up. And I'm like, alright, well, that's the end of God, or part of God. I'm like, damn, Mayuri, killing gods. It's not nice, bro. It's not nice to express your, you know, your atheism upon other people. It's just not right, you know? But anyway, yeah. So I always assume, like, no, we're not done with Pernida. We're coming back with this. Something's got to be explained with this. Of course, the series ended, and we had no idea. But yeah, what's your opinion on this topic? What do you think? What about the ability of the compulsorori itself? Was that something that Pernida always had, the ability to manipulate nerves? Or was that something that Yuha gave it? But if Pernida became a Quincy... I want to think that Pernida came first, because the Soul King existed before Yuha. Yuha's the son of the Soul King. Soul King had to be first. Pernida's the left arm. Pernida had to exist before Yuha existed. Alright? It just makes sense. So, then Yuha bestowed the power, or did it already have those powers to begin with? Actually, I think it might have been said that they did. I think Askin might have said that Gerard and Pernida had their abilities beforehand. Maybe Yuha just gave them the script of C and M, just kind of like an honorary title. What about Gerard? He's the heart of the Soul King. What the fuck does that mean? Are there any other body parts of the Soul King lying around? Are we going to look under the drawer and be like, oh, there was the leg this whole time. Oh, there's the liver. I made a theory video a while back in January, wondering and kind of like a hypothesis that maybe all the Sternritter were parts of the Soul King. I have to say, I don't really put a lot of weight in that theory anymore. I just felt like it wasn't really the case. So I would really just go by that, but I mean, just the original, you know, Pernida is obviously the left arm, but not all the Sternritters are parts of it. What about Lilia? Lilia kept calling himself the messenger of God, and his powers were clearly on the level of Gerard, if not greater. Gerard could reforge, you know, with light, but Lilia seemed to have complete control over it. He can, like, become a light entity that could change his form at will, and he seemed to be, like, the strongest Sternritter. So, was he something that we didn't know? Was he, like, God's brain or God's halo or some weird shit like that? Because, you know, the whole thing was, like, Mercury, like, the messenger of God, like, the one that, you know, the wings and everything. Look into mythology. So I want to say Lilia was probably part of that paradigm in some way, in some form. Yeah, but my basic theory with this is that, yeah, long time ago, maybe at the beginning of time, the Soul King existed as one entity. And as that one entity, he crafted the Seirete, he crafted the Hueco Mundo, and he managed to keep it in, you know, in all balance with his being, you know? And then something happened, I don't know what, where he decided to break up all his body parts. Maybe it was around the time that he decided to create the Shinigami to guard him, because that's the whole point of the Zero Squad, to guard the Soul King, because he can't do anything. So the Zero Squad probably came into existence at the time that he broke apart, or sometime after. Maybe I'm just thinking too much into this. But he doesn't have legs, so they're probably wandering around out there somewhere. Maybe it's Candace. Maybe it's Candace Catnip. Maybe she's the legs of the Soul King, but damn, she got legs. But, yeah, what do you think about that below, guys? Let me know about theories about Pernida, about the Mimi Hage, about Gerard being the heart. What does the heart even mean? Like, you're the physical beating heart of the Soul King? Maybe that is. Maybe that's because, like, the Soul King's like an object, but if the heart went back into him, he would at least be able to talk and move and think, you know, or, you know, do something, you know? Maybe Lilia was the brain of the Soul King. Maybe Askin was the kidneys. I don't fucking know. But yeah, also leave into the comments below what other major things you want me to discuss about the Bleach series, because if nothing else, Kubo opened the door for me to keep on with all the discussion videos, because he's basically like, yeah, well, I'm ending this story with a bunch of holes, but yeah, Tekking will take care of it. He's a pretty clever dude. He'll talk about it for a little while there. He can fill in all the gaps for you. So yeah, let me know below what you want me to talk about. The biggest plot holes in the series. Yeah. The Bleach review will be out within 2 weeks. Like I said, there was something else I was supposed to say to you guys, and now I'm blanking. I don't. Oh, okay. This doesn't have anything to do with the Soul King or anything like that, but it's just like one thing I think I should close out on if you're still upset about like the ending of the series itself, like the last chapter, like the last 2 chapters, like how storybook like it was. I was thinking the other day, maybe it was kind of like Kubo wanted to end the series a particular way. He had it set in his mind how he wanted to end the series. And then Shonen Jump gets involved and say, hey, you got to wrap this shit up within like 6 or 7 weeks. And then Kubo came to the conclusion. Maybe he, thought about it for a little bit. Maybe he only thought about it for like a few minutes. But he came to the conclusion like, okay, look, there's no way I'm going to be able to do the ending that I want. So I have 2 options. I can either try to give them the ending I want, but I'll have to slim it down to bare minimum, and it might not even make a lot of sense. Or I can just try to give my characters a happy ending. It's not going to be really appropriate when you compare it to the theme of the other chapters leading up to it, but considering this is the end of the road, would I rather have my characters end in a shitty position, or would I rather at least end on a happy note, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense? At least give everyone a happy ending. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for you guys watching. This will be Tekking101 signing out.